Good morning. All right, we are excited to be here. Our first selection is by our K through 2. So I will have our second graders, please stand. First graders. Kindergarten, please stand. Do Miss Branch a favor. Turn around towards your parents. Turn around. Her welcome speech words, so please let her introduce herself and please give her your attention.
My name is Leah. On November 11th in the year 1918, a peace agreement was signed to end World War I. On this day each year, Americans come together to honor war veterans and all those who serve in the military missions to preserve peace in our world. Today, we celebrate Veterans Day, honoring all those men and women who helped defend Americans' freedom in times of war and times of peace. by serving in the United States Armed Forces. Please join us in welcoming our honored guests who unselfishly did their very best keeping all Americans free, and for that we celebrate our Veterans Day greatest victory.
That applause is for our veterans. We will now have the presentation of colors by the Bryan Station High School Color Guard. We will be asking everyone in just a minute to stand and remain respectful. We will remain standing throughout the Pledge of Allegiance for the singing of the national anthem, and we will continue to stand until the color guard has exited the gym. And now we will all stand very quietly and respectfully.
You're fine.
Please join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We now ask everyone to please join in the singing of the national anthem.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light, that so proudly we ran at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, but the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, they proved through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. You may be seated.
Amen. I was so I don't
Okay, he's going to wait till everybody's real quiet, and be sure you introduce yourself when you're ready.
My name is Logan Lara. When Francis Scott Key wrote the Star Spangled Banner 200 years ago, he called America the land of the free and the home of the brave. Those who are as true today as they were then throughout this nation, history, American soldiers, sailors, airmen, professors. We would now like to recognize our distinguished guests who have served in the armed forces and those who are currently serving our country.
We find lots of ways to celebrate Independence Day. We march in parades, wave the flag, get together with family and friends, eat too much, and enjoy watching fireworks in towns all across this great land. And we always set aside time to remember and to pray for the men and women who have sacrificed so much to keep us strong and free. They've left home and family, served in lonely, sometimes dangerous places, and endured hardship and suffering for the sake of liberty. Some have paid the ultimate price in defense of and in service to this nation. If you have served or are now serving in one of the branches of our military, please stand as we sing your song.
Fourth grade. We can never fully repay our debt of gratitude to the more than 650,000 American service members who died in battle, or the 1.4 million who were wounded. We can, however, recognize and thank the millions of veterans still living today. So, it is our privilege to say thank you to all of the American veterans and military in attendance today, and to let you know that we appreciate you for your service and we honor you for your sacrifices. The price of freedom is not free. We cannot afford to forget those who were willing to pay the price. Today, we celebrate you, America's heroes, for keeping our nation the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Fifth grade? Almost here. So fifth grade, you need to be at 0 level, ready to listen to Miss Grant. Boys and girls seated in the floor, be at 0, ready to hear them. Thank you.
During World War I, a lieutenant colonel was attending a funeral of a friend, a fellow soldier, where he was inspired to write a special poem. The poem is entitled Flander Fields. Flander Fields is a burial ground for soldiers. in Belgium during World War I. He writes the poem in the voice of his friend who has died, and he makes sure that everyone knows that the friend's message is very important about the brave sacrifice his friend made, and also the plea that he gives to all the living ahead of him to continue the fight for our freedom and peace. For he also notes how poppies, these beautiful red poppies, were blooming on the graveside. No explanation other than they were just there. So with the song in Flinders Field, the poppy became a special known flower of remembrance. So we will be singing a music rendition to the poem that Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae wrote during World War I.
Who have served in the armed forces themselves. We have Midway City Councilman, U.S. Army veteran, who served in Afghanistan, Logan Nance. We also have Colonel retired Jeannie Green Baker, who began her military service in the Kentucky Army National Guard in December 1986. Before serving her country, she was a nurse for the Veterans Administration Hospital in Lexington, Kentucky. So after this, after my voice, you will hear those two voices. Please be respectful.
Can everybody hear me okay? Perfect. Thank you all very much for those wonderful songs, for being such an attentive audience, and this is a wonderful program. I was very excited to be invited here because I love talking to students because, excuse me, I forgot. Because it wasn't that long ago, at least it doesn't feel that long ago, that I was sitting where you're sitting now in a gymnasium very much like this one, and I was hearing veterans and speakers come and talk to me. And I, like many of you, many of the people in the audience, I'm sure, have a history of service in my family. Everyone here probably knows someone, maybe a grandfather, their father, cousins, uncles, great-grandfathers that have served this country. That's the case for me, just I'm sure it's the case for a lot of you. In particular, my grandfather was a tank commander many years ago. And as a little boy, I found his hat. And it was this hat here. And when I was a little kid, I would wear this hat around the house. And if I could find a cardboard box or anything, that became my tank. And I would pretend to be him. I would pretend to be a soldier. Because when I was a kid, especially, I would look at these people in this uniform, and I would see them on TV, I would see them in movies, I would hear them come and talk, and I was just enamored. I was just so in awe of what they do and what they did. So even as a little boy, as a little kid, I knew that I wanted to be that. I wanted to wear that uniform because I love my country, and I wanted to do a great service, or what I felt like was a great service. And one thing I noticed about these, as a kid, one thing I thought is I would see these men and women serving in the country, and I thought, they're superheroes. That I thought, as a kid, sometimes we're presented with situations where we see things maybe that we know shouldn't be going on, and we wish we had the courage to be brave and to stand up and to say something, or to stop somebody from bullying, or maybe we feel like we get afraid sometimes, and that's okay. But I would see these people in uniform, and I would think, man, they're so brave, they're just fearless, But one thing you learn as you get a little bit older, when you do put that uniform on, you realize that there's nothing that sets a person apart that's in the military that wears a uniform. Doesn't set them apart. There's nothing inherently fearless. I've served with a lot of very brave people, but I never served with anyone that was fearless. What they were is they're brave, meaning that when they felt that fear, they were willing to keep going forward. They were willing to keep going into the fray, into the battle, because they knew that there's something much more important than that fear. And that was being brave. And those same values that make up what you are as a soldier, those same values are values that you can take as a little kid, as a student, as a young adult, that you can take and you can help make yourself a better person every day. One thing that sets the United States military apart from just about any other military in the world is that it's an entire volunteer army. Meaning that every person that wears a uniform that serves this country did so voluntarily. They volunteered to do it. And there were plenty of times when I was overseas in Afghanistan, and I remember thinking, why in the world did I volunteer to do this? But that's what makes our country great, is that we have people that are willing to volunteer their time, volunteer to sacrifice their life, to go over and to fight wars for our country, to help make sure that people are free, to make sure that we stay free in this country. We have many moms and dads in the audience here that have served our country overseas. When I served in Afghanistan, I didn't have any children at that time. But there are many moms and dads that go over there because they do so that their children back home can make that they don't ever lose the freedoms that we have. When I was over there, we think about the Army a lot. We think about the military in general. We think about fighting wars. But there's so much that goes on over there that we're doing. The unit that I was with, one of the things that we were tasked to do was trying to better the lives of the people in the villages that were around us in Kandahar, Afghanistan. We would go to these villages and we would try to help them find water, help them secure water, have clean drinking water in their homes. We would try to teach the children over there how to read. Who here knows how to read? Raise your hand. That's amazing. In Afghanistan, in the area we were at, only 1% of the population knew how to read. That's a very, very, very small number. Most kids, and certainly most adults over there, don't know how to read, or didn't know how to read. So we would go do these things because we know that the key to freedom, the key to staying free, is to be educated, right? So the bad guys over there, the enemies, they wanted to make sure that the population didn't get educated, that they didn't know how to read, that they couldn't think for themselves. One thing I noticed when I was there is that the kids over there, the children, they look an awful lot like you all. They look just like you all. They want the same things that you want. We think about this country, Afghanistan, we think about this country that's so far away and there's people we just can't relate to. But the number one thing the kids over there wanted to do, like they really, really wanted to do it, they wanted to go to school. Isn't that crazy? They wanted to go to school. But they couldn't go to school because they didn't have schools to go to. So one of the things we were trying to do was build schools for them to go to and secure schools they could go to. So something that we take for granted every day, the ability to go to a school, to have a teacher that explains stuff to us and teaches stuff to us and teaches how to think for ourselves, is something that these kids over there desperately want to do. So it's important for us that we don't take that for granted. Because it's important. The number one thing that you all can do for your country is to go to school, help to keep our country free. So don't take that for granted. And I'm going to leave you with this. One thing that I get asked, in fact, I got asked this morning, is how do you thank a veteran? You know, we hear people say all the time, you know, thank you for your service, and it means a lot. Because because you, if you look in the mirror, you'll see the face, and you are your face, and you're the reason that a lot of people, especially your moms and dads and your family, but you're the reason that we go over there to do what we do. But how do you thank a veteran? You thank a veteran in the way that you live your life. If you live a life in gratitude, live a life showing respect, being leaders, coming to school, you can do all those things, and in that way that you live your life, that's how you show the veterans in the audience here and the ones that aren't, that you are truly thankful for the time that they spent away from their families so that you could be free. All right, thank you all so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Good morning, Principal Asher, ladies and gentlemen, teachers and students of Mary Todd. I am very honored to be here today, and I'm glad that you asked me to participate in your Veterans Day event. Today, we're honoring ordinary men and women and those, for whatever reason, have chosen to protect freedom and our way of life. They left their families, and most of the time they left this country, and they went to fight somewhere else to make sure that you and me and you and me were all free here. They wanted to protect our way of life, but they also wanted to give that same opportunity to everyone else in the world who asked for help. These men and women fought to protect our country just for some things that we call basic freedoms, some things that other people in the world don't have. You know, our First Amendment, and I'm sure everybody's learned a little bit about that, guarantees us some freedoms, some things that we take for granted that the rest of the world doesn't know about. Some of those freedoms are our right to be free to worship God in the way that we choose, our right to say what we want to say, our right to read in a newspaper what somebody else's thoughts are, our right to petition the government if we don't like the way something is going or what's happening, and also our right just to gather here today. Other places in the world don't have that right. So as we honor our veterans and their great deeds, we also salute soldiers and airmen, Marines and Coast Guard, parents, and other family members that have supported us. And because we are able to do that one small task of trying to preserve freedom, those family members have taken care of everything at home. So I want to say thank you. Thank you to the children, thank you to the moms and dads, thank you to the family members who didn't put on a uniform but served just as valiantly at home, making it just a little bit easier for us to do our jobs wherever we were in the world. Also, just as I did, and many of my other brothers and sisters in arms did, we went to fight for you and for our families and for our way of life. Because it's not just a day to remember veterans, it's a day for you to begin your journey of making freedom free for everybody. The sacrifice is tremendous and the sacrifice is great, but it's worth everything because it's our way of life. So you want to know how you can start preserving freedom. It's really easy to do. The first thing you have to do is you got to stay in school. Because the freedom to be educated, to learn, to be informed is something that many places in the world don't have. And so we fight for that for you. So be sure you stay in school. And when we talk about staying in school, it's not just being in school, it's being involved, it's being an active learner. It's learning about other people, it's learning about other places. It's understanding the person who sits beside you. It's about listening, and it's about hearing. It's about talking with one another. But it's also always about being respectful to one another, learning about their ideas and what's important to them. So the education that you're getting today, you thank a soldier for that, because that's what we do. We fight for your freedom to be educated. I am so excited about the students that I've seen today. The hope that we have for our future is in you. And because you're here today and you're learning about freedom, and because you're participating in these programs, you know what it is. And you yourself, hopefully one day, will make a decision to protect our freedom in whatever way you see is important. Not everyone wears the uniform, but everybody can support those who do. So our founding fathers were ready and willing to give their lives to establish a country where freedom and liberty were its cornerstones. My military brothers and sisters have made a tremendous sacrifice to protect your freedom and my freedom. And each of you, we look forward to what you have to offer to protect freedom in the future. So children, on the behalf of my veteran brothers and sisters, retirees and service members everywhere, we thank you for remembering us, for honoring us, and recognizing our service. And with that, I just say, I look forward to what you will become, how our world will change and grow, because there are wonderful people in it like you who understand our values, and you will do everything you possibly can to protect those values. So my veteran friends and I are very proud of you. So we thank you as you grow, and we wish you a very, very wonderful, productive school year. Thank you.
From the third grade. So third grade, please stand and come forward. Now, I want to compliment the boys and girls on the floor, because you've been sitting here for a while and you've been very respectful. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot to all of us here that you are so respectful. Now, we have third grade up here, and they're getting ready to do a beautiful song for you called America the Beautiful, but we also have a speech. All right?
The song America the Beautiful was based on a poem written by Professor Poet and writer Catherine Bates. In 1893, she went to Colorado Springs, and when she got to the top of Peach Pike, the view was so beautiful that it inspired her to write. All the wonders of America seemed displayed there, with a sea-like expanse. As the program comes to a close, we would like to admire the beauty of our nation, a beauty we will not be able to enjoy freely without the many sacrifices our armed forces have made. For this, we are forever grateful to call America the Beautiful our home.
at level 0, please. Thank you. We're not going to take a whole lot longer. What a beautiful program and what beautiful songs. I'm going to be humming Flanders Fields all day long. That was so beautiful, 5th grade. Great job. Now, Ms. Frank, don't go anywhere. Come up here. Before I dismiss you, I'm going to wait. Now, for all of our guests who don't know Ms. French, this is her first year as a music teacher. So she's doing a fabulous job, and I want to give her these pretty flowers for a great Veterans Day program. So give her a round of applause. A lot of work that goes into the program for a first-year music teacher. Fabulous work, Ms. French, and all the students. All right, thank you, distinguished guests, for coming. Thank you to our special speakers and teachers. We'll dismiss at level 0. Thank you. Thanks for a great program, boys and girls.